So tell me, what was the first Star Wars game you actually remember playing? Was it the awesome Doom clone Dark Forces? Or how about some of the epic battles of Battlefront? Or how about this, what about one of the all-time greats like Knights of the Old Republic? Well, as great of a game as all those games are, for me, being a child born in the 90s, it was actually the original Rogue Squadron for Nintendo 64. And let me tell you what, this game blew my mind as a kid. Actually getting a chance to fly an X-Wing and take down TIE fighters, or fly a snowspeeder and take on freaking AT-ATs. I just couldn't believe that in 1998 a game this advanced and good looking could even exist. Prior to playing Rogue Squadron, my only real experience with flight games was Star Fox for the Super Nintendo. And well, that's a pretty big jump in quality.
Back off, Fox!
Hey, no hate towards Star Fox, of course. It's a great game, but Rogue Squadron took what other arcade-style flight games had done and just brought it to a whole new level. See this on-the-rails type stuff? No more. You get an open level, you get an open level, everybody gets open levels! For the most part, you're free to fly around and take on any of the objectives as you see fit. And this sort of freedom doesn't just pertain to the level design, but also to the choice of fighters you get to make at the beginning of each level. Oh, you're some kind of weirdo who doesn't care for the X-Wing for some reason? Oh well, beat the game once and you can play the level in whatever ship you want. Want an A-Wing, a Y-Wing, a V-Wing? How about the freaking Millennium Falcon? How's that for you? Still not happy? Well, let's add in some cheats. How about a TIE Interceptor, a Naboo Starfighter, a 1969 Buick Electra? For God's sake, what more do you want? Okay, I need to calm down for a minute. If you can't tell, I really do love this game a lot, and it's because this was my introduction to just such a long line of great Star Wars games. You see, the original Rogue Squadron game was probably as good of a flight game as you could have possibly made for the Nintendo 64 for the time. And I say for Nintendo because I know there's still a lot of people out there who will argue that the X-Wing game and TIE Fighter game from 1993 and 94 were superior games. But with those games being more of a flight sim, they were far more complicated and took a lot more time to learn. So it was kind of hard for young ADHD me to really enjoy them when I finally got around to trying them out. Now for Rogue Squadron, its simplicity in controls mixed with its superior graphics and level design just sucked me in right away. To be honest, Rogue Squadron's level design and overall gameplay just blew most of the competition out of the water and still holds up really well to this day. The flying feels smooth and the ability to freely go around the map encourages replayability to learn the best routes to get the highest scores. That and the fact that each starfighter plays very different from one another with their own stats, weapons, and abilities, which really makes multiple playthroughs quite a bit of fun. Now, we can't talk about starfighters without of course mentioning the iconic X-Wing. Pretty much the flagship of the Rebel Alliance, it's an all-around fighter with blaster cannons that you can actually change the fire rates for, from standard to burst to even all four at one time. You can even lock the X-foils down for a speed boost at the cost of your ability to shoot. It has strong missiles, decent armor, and is just all around a great fighter. The A-Wing is a quick and agile fighter with fast lasers and is just overall great for taking out TIEs. But it does have weaker missiles and of course lacks armor and shielding. The Y-Wing, of course, slow and cumbersome, makes up for its shortcomings with powerful bombs for taking out ground targets, and has shields strong enough to take on a squad of TIEs. You even get a snowspeeder to trip up AT-ATs in many missions of the game. Plus the V-Wing, a quick-moving yet durable fighter with homing cluster missiles and rapid-fire cannons. This game just has overall a great lineup of iconic starfighters, and this doesn't even include the fighters you can get after typing in cheat codes. Type in Farm Boy and you can get the Millennium Falcon and use its auto turret to help mop up enemy TIEs. Now, to be honest, it really is kind of a piece of junk. It's too large to maneuver in a lot of the levels, and its auto turret likes to commit quite a bit of friendly fire as well. But who cares? It's so much fun to play around in regardless. But hey, if you don't like that, you can also get ships like the TIE Interceptor, which flies very similar to the A-Wing, yet instead of missiles, has stronger lasers. Plus, one awesome first-person view. As mentioned before, yes, you can actually fly around in a Buick Electra, the car of sound designer Rudolf Stendar. Put in, of course, as an obvious joke and has all the stats of the V-Wing, making it not just a fun vehicle to play around in, but also a pretty effective one. But I can't talk all about the fighters you can get with the cheat codes without, of course, mentioning the overpowered Naboo Starfighter from Episode 1. It is as fast as an A-Wing, shielded as an X-Wing, has homing missiles to boot. If you want to gold medal every level in the game, you are going to want to unlock this ship, trust me. Little bonus trivia about its inclusion. Since Rogue Squadron released around half a year prior to Episode 1, only a few developers actually even knew of its existence in the game to try to make sure they could keep leaks down to a minimal. And even if you did somehow find out about the 2 codes to unlock it, the game would actually tell you the first code was incorrect, making people think they just typed it in wrong or that it just was not a real code in the first place. It wasn't until after Episode 1 was released that the developers actually came out and told people the 2 codes to type in, and to of course ignore the incorrect code signal the game gives you and just type the second one in right after. It really probably is one of the best kept secrets in gaming history, and to be honest, one hell of a movie promotion. Now, with all these different fighters as well as open level design, it allowed for a lot of replayability. And with the game actually awarding you a medal at the end of each mission, bronze, silver, or gold, and awarding you secret levels based on your ability to get these medals, it gave you plenty of reasons to keep you coming back for more. Now, Rogue Squadron is set between episodes 4 and 5, where Luke and Wedge have decided to get together a group of elite pilots called, you guessed it, Rogue Squadron. The main game is split into 4 chapters with a loosely connected story throughout, though the first chapter is mostly missions to get you comfortable with the game itself, and they serve overall as just a really good introduction for the game's mechanics. Many of the missions you'll be able to complete relatively quickly, sometimes less than 4 minutes if you really know what you're doing. But even these shorter missions still have excellent quality for what they are. Some missions will have you protecting transports, or bombing Imperial installations, committing prison breaks, or even taking on the World Devastators. To try to give some justification for why you're doing what you're doing, they sprinkle in a few more story-driven missions here and there. The first real story mission starts with saving an Imperial officer turned rebel, Crix Maydeen, who, now that I think about it, I think I've rescued twice now in some of these older games. Such a needy guy. You also later pick up another Imperial defector, Kaysen Moore, a TIE Interceptor pilot who has wanted to leave the Empire ever since she saw her homeworld of Alderaan get destroyed. Using information gathered from both defectors, Rogue Squadron runs multiple missions sabotaging and raiding the Empire, until Wedge is eventually shot down and taken as a POW. Your next mission is freeing Wedge as well as the other POWs on Kessel, until eventually Moff Surdin, the local Imperial leader, gets tired of you just giving it to the Empire and decides to instead mount a counteroffensive, terrorizing innocent planets and trying to destroy the rebels' Bacta supply. All of this eventually culminates to a dogfight between you and his personal shuttle. A simple storyline, yet enough to give you reason to jump from mission to mission. Strange enough though, the dogfight with Moff Surdin actually takes place on the second to last mission of the main game. The last mission of the game is kinda more like a bonus mission, giving you the chance to play as Wedge 6 years after episode 6, piloting the new V-Wing against the Empire's World Devastators as they destroy the world of Mon Calamari. Remember, this is before Disney bought Star Wars, so yes, it's still the Empire, not the First Order. To be honest, even if it has zero ties to the story, fighting these massive ships was pretty amazing back in the day, and it's still very impressive that a Nintendo 64 can actually handle having them in the game at all. Now, Rogue Squadron has many great missions with only a couple duds. But a few standouts would be levels like Imperial Construction Yards, where you have to sneak in, avoiding their radar, and then destroy their walker facilities. Overall, it's just a really great concept for a level. You start by flying through a canyon, destroying radar dishes to hide your approach, until you finally make it to the construction yards and just get to work destroying everything you can. As you attack, the Imperial base tries to deploy AT-ATs and AT-STs to defend them while their TIE fighters are still stuck on their landing pads just sitting ducks. It just does a great job at really making you feel like you're actually taking them by surprise. You also have levels like Blockade on Chandrilla, where you have to defend a supply train going to a besieged city that is rebelling against the Empire. You then have to take out bombers and walkers so that the evac transports can continue to get the civilians off-world. It's a pretty quick level, but it's one of those levels you can go back and play using any ship, which just makes it always a lot of fun. Now this wouldn't be a Rogue Squadron video if I didn't at least mention the most infamous level in all of the Rogue Squadron series. Escape from Vest. And I'm gonna be honest, I kinda love it. Okay, I admit, it's a pretty divisive level to say the least, but I'm a sucker for snowy levels. Cool Mountain is one of the best Mario levels ever. Assault on the Control Room is one of the best Halo levels ever. And Escape from Vest I still think is a great level in the Rogue Squadron series. The idea is simple. The rebels have stolen a few AT-PT walkers and need assistance in getting to the evac zone. A stupid plan by the rebels, since these things are weak as hell, so I have no idea why you would actually want to capture some, but whatever. The issue is, not only are the AT-PTs very weak, but they're being attacked by 3 AT-AT walkers, waves of tanks, and of course squads of TIE bombers that can take them all out in just one successful bombing run. It is a mission that you will lose the first few times you play through it. However, after you get the hang of the order in which to do things, you can complete the mission fairly easily. It is a mission that actually really rewards your understanding of the game's mechanics and tactics. It is a very difficult but fair level. So earlier I mentioned how the game awards you medals based on your performance in each level. And these medals aren't just for showboating, they also help you unlock bonus levels depending on what medals you actually have. For bronze and up, you get Beggar's Canyon, more of a mini game than a full level where you get a chance to race through one of 3 set pathways through Beggar's Canyon with Luke's trusty T-16 Skyhopper. For getting all silver and up, you unlock the iconic Death Star Trench Run, and well, okay, it's a little different looking, but listen, this is 1998 tech we're working with here. I'm just surprised they made it. Sure, it might not be as polished as the trench run we got in Rogue Leader years later, however, it's still a lot of fun to play through, and I really don't get all the hate people have for it. And last but not least, you have the grand finale. For getting all gold medals on every mission of the game, or by typing in cheats like I did.
You're a phony! Hey, this guy's a great big phony!
Oh, give me a break, you try getting gold on Escape from Vest. Anyway, with all gold medals or by typing in cheats, you can unlock the Battle of Hoth. This level is great for 3 main reasons. 1, it's a snowy level, so hey, that alone makes it pretty cool. Number 2, it's just really cool playing through the Battle of Hoth, taking out AT-ATs and AT-STs. I mean, who wouldn't love that? But the third reason is that this also serves kind of as an homage to the game that inspired Rogue Squadron, Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. You see, Shadows of the Empire's best level was a flight portion from the Battle of Hoth, and it was so well liked that LucasArts approached Factor 5 to make a whole game based around the concept of that one level alone. So having the final level to unlock be a remake of the same level that inspired the game in the first place is just a great way to finish everything out. Rogue Squadron is one of those games that almost has a timeless feel to it. Even going back to play it for this review, it was still just so much fun to go through. I started replaying levels not because I needed more footage, but because I just wanted to try and get silver on all of them like I used to when I was a kid. The game just sucked me right back in like it did when I first got it. Fortunately, if you want to try Rogue Squadron out for yourself, it is available on both Steam and GOG. However, both of them do have a few minor issues with them, so I would recommend playing it on the original Nintendo 64 if you're able to. And if not, find some other completely legal way to get a hold of it. Now I want to thank you all so much for watching, and if you're interested in more Star Wars related videos, why don't you check out our Dark Forces review over here to my right. Or if not that, then I guess whatever YouTube might be recommending over here to my left. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again real soon.